biggest mistake ever. He found used condom protection in the bin and then punished me like this. Hi everyone, I'm honestly in need of help and I'm wondering if there's any way that I'll get good advice here. I cheated on my husband and now he has found used protection in the bin of our house. I fear that he's going to do something that's going to ruin my life. I've had an affair with a very demanding boyfriend who has always found an opportunity to stay in my house whenever my husband isn't around. Finally, his tactics and my bad obsession with him has landed me in very deep trouble. I'm really scared because I don't know what the outcome of my actions would be. It's not something I'm proud of, but at the same time, it's not something I'm not proud of. Let me just say there's fire on the mountain and I'm praying that this fire runs out as soon as possible. I just know it because my husband has never been one to forgive or forget. He believes in the law of karma, and whenever he notices that karma plans on delaying, he takes matters into his own hands. I'm not exaggerating because I've been married to my husband for 5 years, and I know exactly what he's capable of. I know he saw the used protection in the even though he hasn't brought it up. He just saw it and left the house. He hasn't said a word to me till then, but I just know that he's holding a big grudge. I wasn't even home when he saw the protection in the bin, but trust me guys, he saw it and then he took it. How do I know? Well, that's because the protection is no longer there. My story is complicated and there's urgency for me to get an answer. I don't even know where to start from because all I want to do is get out of this situation. I've written so much without an introduction, so let me give you all a little insight into my life. My name is Rachel, and I'm a 30-year-old housewife. The name of my husband is Ernest, and he's also 30 years old. Ernest works as an accountant at a company I cannot really mention. Like I said earlier, the both of us have been married for 5 years. I know you all are wonderful where my husband went wrong and why I was tempted to cheat on him. I really do not have the answer to that. It was one of those things that just happened and I thought I could get away with it. For context's sake, I didn't just cheat on my husband once. I did it more than once, and I know how stupid that sounds, but I'm just trying to be honest. With all these being said, I never actually thought I'd get caught. I never imagined that he would find out the truth. But he found out because I was careless and sloppy. I still can't believe that I left the used protection in the bin and got caught. It's stupid, but I got carried away and thought I would never get caught. That's just the thing with cheating. You're never safe even when you think you are. Now I'm so scared of what Ernest is going to do. He might divorce me, take the house, humiliate me, or even make me go bankrupt. He's capable of doing any of these things. We met at a restaurant and got married 2 years later, so technically, we've known each other for 7 years. I don't want to lie and bring up silly reasons why we didn't work. I'll just tell the truth as it is, as that might help me find out how to get out of this marriage unscratched. Yes, I'm just 100% sure that Ernest will divorce me. I know that there's no way I can avoid that, but what I just don't want is his revenge. The fact that he saw the protection and instead of confronting me about it, he decided to keep quiet is just something that scares me. The name of my affair partner is Leo, and we met almost a year ago. Like I said, I'm a housewife, so I don't really have important jobs to attend to. I stay home all day and just take care of the house just like all housewives do. To be honest, I never actually imagined that I would cheat on my husband. I've always been that timid housewife that respects her husband a lot. I also come from a decent home and I just know that my parents will kill me if they find out I cheated on Ernest. I'll not win this anywhere because my parents believe that I'm lucky to have Ernest in my life. He's hardworking, talented, and nice. They also felt like he was the only man that was ready to get a wife that wasn't ready to work. Yes, it was my choice not to get a job because I just don't like it. I don't like the idea of working under someone and taking orders from other people. So I told Ernest before we got married that I wasn't ready to work and he shouldn't force me. He didn't have a problem with it, and just that singular decision of his surprised me and my family. I thought I'd be able to start a business after the marriage, but it didn't end up working like that. To be honest, I actually thought Ernest would lend me money to start up the business for me, but he didn't do that. I've asked him several times, but he refused to do any of that for me. So I just decided to stay at home since there was no need for me to go to such lengths. I decided to be a full-time housewife and enjoy my life as a housewife. But being a housewife gets boring with time and you get tired of the routine. That's why I decided to switch things up and join a book club. Yes, I joined a book club. Even though this is not something most people expected me to do, I still did it. I don't like reading books so much that I wanted to join a book club. I just joined in because one of my friends told me it was a nice experience to socialize and meet people. So I joined the book club, and that's actually how I met Leo. Leo is also a member of the book club, and he had been a member way before I even joined in. We didn't spray at first because honestly, I never imagined us being friends. I just joined the book club out of boredom. and also to shut my friend up and tell her that being in a book club makes no difference to me. But things didn't go how I planned, guys. Things started getting out of hand and my friendship with Leo kicked off. I thought I could stay away from it and just see him as just a friend, but that never happened. I actually started seeing him as more than a friend, and a party of me kept on wishing that we could more. I never forgot that I was married, but the temptation was just too much. Like I said, I don't want to lie, so I'll say it just as it is. I actually got angry with Ernest's decision to ignore me for his money. I know many people will call me a hole digger, but I don't care. He knew how I was before he got married to me, but he didn't complain. If I knew he was going to leave me to be a broke housewife, I would have never got married to him. I told him exactly who I was, just the way I was. I didn't exaggerate or pretend like I was someone else, but he is the exact opposite of that. With all this being said, Ernest is really stingy, and I saw all these in the way he acted whenever I brought up the topic of money. Though this attitude of his annoyed me a lot, it didn't annoy me to the point of wanting to divorce him. That never came to my mind because I just felt like there was no way I'd divorce him. He still provides for the family and he allows me to be a housewife. That's what I thought about, plus I don't want to be a divorcee. I liked the way our arrangement was, even though I held a grudge for the fact that he didn't give me money when I needed it. I'm scared of losing my marriage now, even though I imagined what it would be like if we broke up before. I think I underrated just how much I would lose in this marriage so much that I forgot about it when I started having feelings for Leo. I knew that liking another man apart from my husband was bad, but all reasonable senses in my head practically ran away, and I was left with no choice but to go with the stupid thoughts that kept on occurring in my head. I know that Ernest is going to do something so bad that I will regret this from the bottom of my head. Didn't I tell you guys that he's not the kind of man to forgive easily? In fact, Ernest is not the kind of man to forgive at all. He just does what he wants and forgets all consequences. What I have done to him and the way I have disrespected him is so shameful that even I am scared of the outcome. All he did was find the protection in the bin. He actually has no idea how many disgusting things I've done with Leo in our matrimonial home. But even I know that it's only a matter of time before he actually finds out the truth and decides to go off on me. I've done many bad things with Leo, guys. Not even a single woman would act the way I acted. It was all as a result of my decision to switch things up and join the book club. I thought it would be a nice experience to join the book club and socialize. I wanted to use that as an opportunity to let loose and actually do something fun. But everything backfired in the worst way possible, and now I'm on the verge of getting one of the biggest embarrassing revenge of my life. The fact that I'll be on the receiving end of my husband's wrath actually terrifies me. So where was I? Oh, years, I was telling you guys about the book club and how it changed my life not for the better but for the worse. Sure, I experienced some naughty or good moments as a result of my involvement in the book club, but none of that experience is worth the kind of pain I had to go through to get there. Okay, so people have read it. It wasn't easy to get in the book club in the first place. It was almost like Ernest was aware that I would end up cheating on him. When I told him I wanted to join a book club, he was actually extremely suspicious. Why? Because he knew that I wasn't so interested in reading, and to be honest, I don't think he's ever seen me read a book since the start of our marriage. So you can see just how weird it was for him when I said I wanted to join the book club. It was a struggle because he refused to let me go. But of course, I didn't want to back down for anybody, so I brought up the feminine talk. I told him I was a responsible adult and an independent woman at the same time, so he had no right to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. He asked me why I suddenly wanted to start stressing when I told him before the marriage that I had no interest in working on engaging in other activities. It was a very long argument, and Ernest went as far as telling me just how irritated he was with the way I didn't work and just preferred to be lazy around. I refused to listen to him, and in fact, his attitude only made me more determined to do what I had in mind. At the start of the book club, I only stayed there late just to get on his nerves and have him notice that I actually hated the way he called me lazy. I didn't really find the book club as interesting as my friend described it because at that time I was still very angry with my husband. Ernest has never been the type to shout things like that. He actually ignored my existence and pretended like I wasn't even trying at all. I thought my attitude would make him apologize, but the apology never came, and we continued to live life like nothing happened. When I noticed that he didn't plan to do what I wanted, I decided to forget about it too, because I was also aware that I was being silly. But I didn't stop leaving the book club late, and that's how Leo and I finally started speaking to each other. For some reason, he also stopped going early after we were done at the boo club. Before I go on, Let me make it clear that the book club wasn't exactly the kind of book club that just had elderly people coming to. It was a fun book club that only took place from Thursday and all through the weekend except Sunday. It wasn't the kind of book club that required boring conversations and unnecessary brain-racking. All the members were just fun people who wanted to come and let loose, especially me. I used the book club as the perfect excuse to escape housewife duties, despite my husband, and at some point used Leo. Of course, Leo is a flirt and he knows exactly what he does with his sweet mouth. Leo never kissed an opportunity to flirt with and get me giddy with excitement, and I shamelessly never kissed the opportunity to accept his advances too. I like to act like his presence didn't affect me, but it did, and he also started to take note of the way I acted around him. That's the genesis of everything, guys. That's how the both of us became secret lovers that did naughty things together. Before I go on, I'll have you guys know that Leo is also in a relationship with someone else. He has a girlfriend, or rather a fiancée, that he planned on proposing to before we got together and started seeing each other. I've been to Leo's house several times because when we got really close, I would leave the book club to go see him at his house. It wasn't a relationship that just started from being intimate or anything like that. Leo is actually a playboy who took his time to woo me and get me to have feelings for him. I just decided to take a step back and see just how far things end up going busy. Surprisingly, things actually ended up going farther than I imagined. Some of my friends who were also present at the book club noticed just how close I was with him, and they tried to earn me, but I actually refused to listen, and I just wanted to do things my way. I thought I'll be smart enough and not fall for Leo's antics, but I don't think I was actually smart enough because so far, I did more than I could imagine. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there's a sense of jealousy that comes into a girl when she learns that the man that has been trying to woo her is seeing another lady. I think guys actually use that jealousy in females to their benefit, and that's exactly why Leo did. He knew that I was trying to resist him, so he decided to let me know about his girlfriend and his desire to propose. He was aware that a little competition would be more than enough for me to give in. If I had been to his advances immediately, he would have never told me about his girlfriend because that's exactly how men are. Someone he told me about his girlfriend. I did exactly what a jealous lady would do. I started to feel somewhat left out from everything. That sense of jealousy and feeling of losing an admirer came over me, and then I decided to give IK to him. I also have a crush on him because I'd been having feelings for him for a long time before, and I just held it in because I was enjoying the entertainment. I'm not ashamed to say that I almost forgot I was married because I acted like a single lady all through my affair with Leo. I was so lost and carefree with him that only my friends who really knew I was married understood that I wasn't a single woman. That's just how much stuff we did that they could see and how intense my relationship with Leo was. So when we started dating officially, I would go to his house and he would also come to my house. It became an official relationship and we were all over each other. I started going to his house first, and that's where we began from. I always stopped him from coming to my house at the beginning because I was scared of us getting caught in a relationship. I didn't imagine that things would get so heated, and I would finally let him come to my matrimonial home. Now this is where the drama actually starts from, guys. The both of us in our relationship could have lasted longer if we didn't get things so messy. I hate myself so much for letting him come to my house. If he never came and became comfortable, my husband would have never found the used protection. Leo always wanted to come see me. It was almost like he was running away from his own home. I got so lost in the relationship that I almost forgot that I was a married woman living in my husband's house. It felt like I was living in my own house, so I was free to do anything I liked. But at the end of the day, things were not like that, and I forgot that I was at Ernest's house. So on this particular day, Ernest left for work as usual, and almost immediately Leo came over. He became familiar with Ernest's routine and the time he usually left for work. I didn't complain when I saw him. In fact, I was very happy to finally see my affair partner because it was a Monday, and we didn't see each other because Ernest was at home all through the weekend. Leo and I don't usually sleep together all the time. It's not like we always want to sleep together. I always have my boundaries in that regard and tell him that we can't get intimate all the time. But we got intimate that Monday, and that's how we got careless. We slept together. I'm in the living room and I was so tired that I forgot to properly trash the protection. I don't even know if I was the one who trashed the protection or if it was Leo that trashed it himself. I forgot all about it and sent about my daily activities after Ernest left. But just recently, while I was busy cleaning the living room, I just randomly remembered that I didn't put the protection away at the usual place I normally kept it. I don't usually like to leave the protection at just place. There's always a particular place where I like to keep the protection before I get rid of it properly. But I recently realized that I forgot to toss it at the normal place. I had to go back to the place I usually tossed it, and then I realized that it wasn't there. I spent the whole day checking the house, but then I realized that it wasn't there. I got really anxious because I was very sure that if I didn't toss it, there was a high chance that I didn't keep it properly. The fact that Ernest had been in the living room throughout before he left for work was the only sign I needed to know that there was definitely something fishy going on. He didn't even say a word to me or try to confront me. He just left and acted like nothing actually happened. That's what scares me the most. The fact that he's so relaxed and is barely concerned even after everything that has been going on just goes to show that he's planning a lot of things. Ernest would literally rather die than stay with a cheating wife. I am 101% sure that he's not going to just let me be. He saw a freaking protection in the bin in our living room. A living room that he paid for and a living room that he owns. It's his house, and I know that I disrespected him by allowing my affair partner into the space. And then what's worse is that I left the evidence of what had occurred for him to see. Any man will get really upset, and I know that Ernest is not an exception. I spent the whole day worrying about what to do, and it's been eating me up, so I decided to come here and ask you guys for your advice or just anything at all. I don't want to die in silence, and I definitely don't want to keep what's been bothering me to myself. That's why I came here, just to ask you all to help me. What am I going to do about this very awkward situation I have found myself in? Am I to pretend like nothing happened and just try to gaslight Ernest? I don't know if that's going to be a good decision because Ernest is just too smart. He picked that protection up, and I can bet my life to prove it. That's just how confident I am. But even though I know gaslighting is not going to be the right option, I also know that telling the truth is not going to help me at the end of the day. How am I supposed to approach the man I married and ask him if he saw the protection I left in the bin? How will that even sound to his ears? Where will this matter be brought up and I'll not be seen as the one at fault? How will I look him in the eye and tell him I cheated? It's not even a matter of telling the truth anymore because he already knows and he saw the evidence himself. It's now a matter of me not lying anymore and coming clean, but that will just be me stabbing myself in the back because I'll just reveal more reasons for him never to forgive me. I don't think I've ever regretted anything as much as I regret my current situation, which is as a result of my actions. I just hope you guys can help me. Update. I pray Ernest's karma catches up with him because he's very wicked. I'm now left divorced with no spousal support or alimony. Aside from that, I'm also 100% broke and single. All of these punishments for cheating on my husband with just one man. I know most of you have been itching to find out what eventually happened in my relationship with my husband. I've been trying my best to update you all, but it's been a roller coaster ride for me, so I just decided to take time off and rewind to get my feelings back in check. I'm here with more bad news than anyone would expect me to have. Listen to me, guys, cheating is never the right way to do things. I don't think there's ever a better way to explain things, but I'll just let you all know that I've gone through more than a lot in the past few months to realize what a mess I have been. You all still remember me, right? LOL. I'm the lady who was literally found guilty as a result of her sloppy nature. I just think it's okay to introduce myself before going on. So when I made this post and asked you all to advise me, many of you bashed me rather than actually helping me like I asked. Anyway, I still found a way to survive even though it was extremely hard to navigate through all the stress that my actions brought me. When Ernest came back home the very day I made the post, I was extremely confused and didn't know what to do. My post on Reddit didn't have as much engagement at the beginning, so it was kind of difficult for me to find a direction. But of course, I decided to take the easy way out and just leave out all the stress. I didn't speak to Ernest that night. I thought I would be able to gather my strength to talk to him the next day, but I also couldn't speak to him the next day. These Seike things kept on occurring till 1 week later, and instead of me being the one to approach my husband, he was the one that approached me, and he was actually very angry. He did something that I'll never forget in this life or the next one to come. You might think I'm exaggerating, but I don't care. I cheated on him, but is that enough reason for him to hurt me so much? Couldn't he just cheat back and let sleeping dogs lay? So Ernest and I didn't speak for a full week. I tried to start up a conversation, but he completely ignored me. I just decided to let him be because I knew that he already found out I cheated on him. Just like I told you all, I joined a book club, and that's how I met Leo. But Ernest was able to kick the both of us out of the book club as a result of his vicious ways. He didn't kick us out literally. He just got us embarrassed that we didn't have the guts to show our face. By the way, I am no longer with Leo. I just couldn't stay with him any longer after I found out that he's actually a playboy and a very ungrateful fool. After everything that I sacrificed to be with him, I cheating on my husband. He got scared like a little chicken and left me alone when I literally needed him most. Ernest settled down and took his time to make me pay. I don't even know where he got the time from to come to the book club behind our backs and let them know I was married. If you all remember, I told you that only my true friends at the book club who knew KE years before actually knew I was married. Most of the members thought I was a single lady who just fell in love overnight. I don't know why Ernest got the idea to humiliate me at the book club, but he did get the idea, and he humiliated me in such a way that I still find it hard to recover from. He did that using the girl Leo had been dating before we met. Leo's girlfriend actually joined the book club weeks after I joined, and I didn't know the both of them were dating back then because Leo and I hadn't started talking yet. I never liked her and she never liked me, but it was never obvious that she was with Leo before I got with him. I concluded that Leo just lied about having a girlfriend just to get me to give in faster, so I didn't read into the fact that she was okay with seeing me all over her boyfriend. Well, this girl actually held a grudge and hated me so much that when Ernest came to humiliate me at the book club, she joined in and brought up lies about how I stole her boyfriend from her and how I was manipulating Leo. It sounds like a story from a movie, but it happened to me in real life. I came to the book club during the weekend like nothing happened, unknown to me that almost all the members now saw me as a disgusting woman. I was so surprised, but of course it's a book club, not an elementary school. I can't come there and have them kick me out just because they learned I cheated on my husband. Everyone acted normally and no one said anything, but I could hear them whispering and pointing at me. There were some judgmental people that went as far as shaking their heads when they stared at me, so it was more than obvious that the truth was out. What even made me more humiliated was the fact that my so-called affair partner wasn't at the book club that day. Yes, you really read that right. Leo practically ran away from the embarrassment. He was aware that my husband knew of the truth, so he decided to run away. At first, I couldn't believe that he would do that to me, and I made up a lot of excuses in my head. I felt like he was sick and just didn't want to come. By this time, there was already a crisis between me and Ernest because we weren't speaking at all, and he locked the bedroom door anytime I tried to get in. That's why I decided to go to the book club that day, because I wanted to escape the drama. Of course, I'm a housewife with no job, so I couldn't run anywhere. I couldn't even go speak to my parents because I knew they would cuss me out till they were satisfied. So yeah, it was literally just me and my attitude that were left to battle it out. As if all the embarrassment and abandonment from Leo wasn't enough, I went home that day only to meet my things outside the house with my parents literally sitting on the front porch. My heart has never heated as fast as it did that night because honestly, I was extremely scared of how things had started to go. Imagine leaving a very embarrassing scene only to come home and see your parents seated outside with your clothes on display. I wanted to fall right into a hole in the ground, but there was none for me to fall into. My mother was the first one to break the uncomfortable silence because she walked right up to me and slapped me in the face. I'm not even joining, guys. I was so shocked by the look of embarrassment in her eyes that I started crying straight away. You know that feeling of guilty conscience, right? That was exactly what I felt at that moment, so I was left with nothing else but the choice to cry. I wasn't a fool, and I already knew why they were standing there. I get that I cheated, but a slap was just too much. After accusing me of being the worst embarrassment that happened to her, they threw the divorce osiers in my face. Yes, Ernest had actually drafted divorce orders by that time, and he signed them and gave them to my parents to give to me. I tried going to talk to him, but all I got from him were hurtful words. He called me a fool for thinking that he had left me in the house after finding the pill because he forgave me. No, guys. He actually wanted to look for a good way to humiliate me. He told my parents everything down to how he found the protection in the bin and how I suddenly started going to the book club and coming back late. Can you guys believe that he had drafted the divorce papers 1 week before he even found out I was cheating on him? Yes, guys. That's true. He filed for divorce before even seeing the protection in the bin. I thought that was all Ernest could do to me until he decided to go big. I never actually knew what Leo did or where he worked, but after I was kicked out of the house and left broke, I thought it would be nice to go stay with Leo, but that chicken told me he was scared of my husband and didn't want any trouble. The same guy that sneaked into my matrimonial home without fear was suddenly scared of getting into trouble. My parents refused to accept me into the house, and most of my friends were either broke, married, or just didn't want to have anything to do in the drama. That's because most of the friends I have that are not in the book club are our mutual friends. None of them help me because, of course, I'm broke and they don't want to trade a rich friend for a broke housewife in the middle of getting a divorce. When one of his friends finally decided to lend me money after I begged and cried, Ernest found out and followed his friend to collect the money from me. Yes, he gave me $300 cash. Yeah, he just gave me that to get food since I told him I was hungry and barely living. I had an apartment I was staying at, but I didn't have food. While I was at the grocery store and picked up everything I needed, Ernest came with his friend and Ernest dragged the money out of my hand. I was left embarrassed at the grocery store and I had to return everything I picked. These are just the top of the icebergs, guys. The divorce was literally the straw that broke the camel's back. In this case, Ernest's behavior and heartlessness literally broke me into pieces. The divorce left me with absolutely nothing, even after 5 years of marriage. I wished for spousal support or alimony, but I was left with nothing but an old house. The present house we live in is no longer an Ernest's babe. Yes, I was shocked to find out that he put the house in someone else's name. I'd hoped to get the house, but none of it worked. Yes, guys, he planned all of this for a very long time. He knew exactly what he was doing, and that's why he refused to act immediately. He outsmarted me and made me a fool right in front of my face. Getting back up from this kind of ordeal is never easy, and it surely takes a lot of work and patience to get out of what I'm currently going through. I have tried to say affirmative words to myself, but I can't get over the fact that Ernest was this cruel.
Cheated on my husband with his boss because I thought my husband was a pansy. Yes, I had thought my husband didn't have what it took to be a man. He had always come off as timid and weak right from when we had been dating in college. I had overlooked it because I had thought he had come from money. He had looked rich from college. That's why I had set my eyes on him in the first place, but as we progressed to marriage, I didn't understand anymore. All the wealth he seemed to have displayed was no place to be found. My wedding hadn't been as lavish as I had dreamt it would be. His parents hadn't even shown. It was all a disappointment because, to be frank, I had married him because of his money and not any love. I could never love a man as timid and weak as my husband was. Yes, I was a gold digger, and I had been digging for gold with my husband. Now imagine my shock when the rich boy I had known before had to get a job and be submissive to a boss. It had been disgusting. *wretch*. Before you all self-righteous bunch come under this post to yap at how selfish I was, I already know. I believe I was very clear when I said I didn't marry my husband for money. Anyway, watching my husband get a job and suck up to a boss when he once had money was downgrading. Before we had gotten married, my husband spent lavishly on me, on material things, basically anything to make me happy. Imagine my shock when I married him and now had to be, in his own words, managing. That hadn't been my style before I had gotten married, and I couldn't be expected to somehow adjust my lifestyle because of him. I had tried for the first 2 years. I thought he had been testing me or something, that he'll pop out one day and be like, I still had money to my name. I just wanted to see if you could stay with me when I had nothing. But as the days and months went by with nothing to show except my husband's shy and weak demeanor, and our ever-fluctuating checking account because I really couldn't be bothered as long as I was fine, I got tired. Yes, I got tired of my husband and I hopped on the ride for temptation. This came in the form of my husband's boss, who ticked every box I loved in a man. Strong, confident, powerful, dominant, and most importantly, rich. Whereas my husband cowered and ran to do his boss's every whim. I know that's the whole point here of working for someone, but watching him do it at their annual workers' retreat had done something to my ego. That's where all this started. My husband had told me that he had a party at his office that was for workers and their spouses to strengthen the family bond and whatnot between workers. So I had agreed to go because being in the spotlight is kind of my thing. The night had been going perfectly fine. Drinks, talk. My husband had even introduced me to a few of his colleagues. But then, as the night progressed, he was running out to get something or finish up something at his boss's request. So I had decided to go see what he was up to one of those times, and my mind was blown. You guys couldn't have imagined. To say I was shocked was an understatement. My husband's boss was giving my husband a scolding about how he couldn't do his job properly, and my husband stood there nodding his head like a sad lost puppy. I was flabbergasted and disgusted by my husband. Later, when the party was about to end, the boss decided to show his face and thank everyone for coming, so I decided to feel him up, you know what I mean? Turned out he was everything I liked in a man, and he had the hots for me. It was like a match made in heaven. Did I have second thoughts about cheating on my husband? Of course not. But I hadn't known it would come back to bite me in my butt. It was supposed to be a one-time fling, like an experience with a real man because I had missed that. But boy, was I wrong. Before I continue on, I want to give you all a little backstory to how my life was before I got married to my husband. My name is Nyla, and I'm 24 years old. My husband's name is Kevin, and he's the same age as I am. I was a partyholic. I loved parties, and that's how I met my husband. He had just been like me in college, attending parties, showing up and showing out, and having no care in the world about grades, and the fact that we had come to college to bag a degree. Degrees were worthless when you had the money to do what you want, and I had the backing from my parents who thought I was studious as ever in school. Lowell, imagine their shock when their daughter was dropping out of college and getting married. I had been their nightmare. Now, I don't think they want anything to do with me. Anyway, my husband was just like me in every regard. We matched and vibed, and he was rich as a, I don't know the expression to use here, but he was massive rich, if you get what I mean. His parents were in the wine business, and it was a generational wealth kind of thing. He had money to lavish, and I was his girl, so I was down for that kind of life. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and within 6 months, I was getting married. I was 23 when I had gotten married, and I thought that my life was going to be ease and soft life and trips and vacations and Birkins and Prada. Our wedding had been a flurry of activities. His parents hadn't attended because apparently they didn't like the fact that their son was getting married when he still had his life in front of him, and the fact that he was getting married to someone like me, no less. They weren't happy with the wedding, and they had not deemed it important to attend their son's wedding. Just as I hadn't deemed it important to go and see them as a dutiful daughter-in-law while I had been courting my husband. Lowell, I didn't have the time for all of that then. I had been too busy dreaming of how I would spend my husband's money. We got a house at Pacific Heights and everything was going well. Then, imagine 2 months later, my husband coming to tell me that he would have to start working. My dreams shattered just like that, and I thought he had been playing with me. But truly, my husband started working and we again. I mean, I could promise not to overspend, but I needed to spend or I would go crazy. Like I said before, I had never been more delusional. With the mindset of going to convince my husband to apologize to his parents so they'll let us have access to funds, I stepped into my home and saw my husband screaming and almost tearing his hair out. I knew I was in big trouble when my husband had set his red eyes on me and screamed. That's how I knew he had found out. Well, the screaming and the scattered pictures of me going into different hotels and restaurants with the man that was meant to be his boss. My husband had asked me why, and no sound had escaped from my mouth. I was, in fact I am, normally not the quiet one who would let go at the start of a fight, but I couldn't find the words to answer my husband's question. I had nothing, and he had left the house. My husband had come back a week later, and everything resumed back in our lives. He had asked me no questions about it, and of course I had thought whether I should have apologized for what I had done. But I know a real man wouldn't like that, so I had left it unspoken. Everything went back to normal, literally. He was talking to me and asking me questions, but he hadn't asked the most important one, why I had cheated on him. Well, I didn't see any point in bringing up past pains over a month later, and decided to keep it to myself and ask what I had been meaning to ask before. If he could probably talk to his parents to put us back on the funds receivers list. I wasn't working, and before you come at me saying I shouldn't be proud of that, I didn't care about anyone's opinion back then, and it hasn't changed. And my expenses weren't balancing with his paycheck. I was a high-maintenance babe, and I didn't want to end that. So I had approached my husband and told him that he should consider going to apologize to his parents. That day, my husband lost it on me like I had never believed he could. According to him, if I just shut up and got a job to offset my expenses, then he wouldn't have to go back to his parents. Something about being a grown man and one stupid thing. Can you imagine that? Me, working, and him being grown? Heck, he wouldn't know anything about being grown if it was stuck to the fridge and made visibly clear. Besides, he hadn't married me for that. He had married me for the fun and the good time and the vibes. That's what I had ever been known for. So what was this talk of getting a job? Well, I told him what I thought of him and his stupid idea, and he told me he wouldn't have been in this mess if he hadn't married me. I had been hurt by that statement, and at that moment I thought I should prove him wrong. Again. He had told me to wear a special dress and look good, and I was spiked. I was happy that he had listened to me, and we were finally doing something that was fun ever since we got married. We got to the restaurant, and I ordered everything that could be ordered because this was a first time in a long while kind of outing for me. And also with my husband. You guys wouldn't guess the event that unfolded after we were done eating. He played the oldest trick in the book on me. Prior to me finishing my food, my husband got up and said he needed to use the restroom, that he'll be back in a jiffy. Unaware of what was about to happen, I nodded my head and continued enjoying my food and the ambiance of the restaurant because I hadn't been there. So imagine my shock when after about an hour the waiter handed me the bill and my husband was nowhere to be found. I had been played my own husband. Can you imagine being played by your spouse? If it had been a boyfriend or a guy I met on Tinder, that would have been easy to digest, but my husband, someone I was supposedly stuck to in good and in bad. I had tried calling his phone, but it had gone straight to voicemail, and the waiter was getting impatient because I had cleared my food and they had a number of people waiting to get in. That night, I did something I had never done in my life before. I had to borrow money from a college friend. My husband had abandoned me at a restaurant, and I had to get money somehow, or risk being sent to jail, and that's another thing I have never done. When I confronted him about it, he said he had an urgent work thing to do, that's why he ran out on me and couldn't get the bill. That was a cheap lie, and he knew it. He didn't even offer to make it up to me, and I began to suspect something was happening. As a result of that incident, I stopped talking to my husband and knew I needed to get something done to sustain myself and my needs, so I began working for the bakery down our block. No one should come at me for finally realizing I had done it back then to somehow gain my husband's trust again. When my husband saw what was happening, that I had gotten a job, he started leaving me a little money, and my plan had worked. I quit the job, but always pretended to leave the house and walked down the block to the bakery while he left for the office. Once he was out of sight, I turned back and headed to the house. So with him finally giving me money, I thought we were on good terms again, so when he told me he wanted to take me shopping, I hadn't doubted that he wasn't genuine. We had gotten to the store, and I had picked out the items I wanted and a little extra and had gone into the dressing room to try on the outfits. I hadn't even blinked when the dressing room curtain was swept open, and about 3 women came at me telling me I was a thief, and they were calling the police on me. I had no idea what they had been going on about, but apparently as I was being manhandled out of the store, my husband was nowhere to be found again. The women dumped my handbag on the floor and found a bunch of lingerie folded up together like someone had squashed it in there to frame me. That's how I spent the night behind prison bars. And I realized my husband was out to ruin me. He hadn't come to bail me out, even though I had called his number countless times, and I had to wait till the next morning before I paid my own bail with the little money he had been leaving me and was released. When I got home, my husband was still nowhere to be found, but he had left a note saying that I was going to cry and beg in front of him for a divorce. I hadn't known that was going to be the story of my life until it actually happened. After the note, my husband didn't step foot into the house for a whole 2 weeks while I was nipping my nails away in worry and dread over what was to come. And it came. I got back from going to ask a friend to lend me some money, which had been unsuccessful by the way, and saw a party going on at my house in full swing. Like a classy dinner party, and I was walking in looking all tattered and tired of life. Then I realized it was a trap set by my husband the moment I set eyes on my mother. My husband was about to do the worst, but before I could run, he announced my presence to everyone in the room, and all eyes turned to me. There was no way to escape the shame and humiliation that came next as my husband started his speech about how we had met and whatnot. It was our 1-year wedding anniversary, and he was choosing to disgrace me in front of everyone that somehow knew me. A slideshow began playing in the space behind him. It started with cute pictures of us before and after marriage, and it ended with pictures of me cheating on him with his boss. I felt the eyes of everybody before I heard their gasps, and I had to hand it to my husband. My mother walked up to me and slapped me hard before leaving the party, and I saw my husband's mother planning to come and do same, but someone was holding her back. I walked up to my husband and told him that he was despicable for destroying my image when we could have settled it quietly. And he lost it again on me. He began telling me how I was the one that ruined his life and how he should have listened to his parents about me and my bad influence. He said I was the reason his parents had cut him off because they wanted him to learn the consequences of marrying someone like him, who was only after his money, and he had told them they should butt out of his business because he had believed I had truly loved him. Well, Mao, I had never heard from a more delusional person in my life. He told me I was a good-for-nothing leech, and I would never have anything good come from life for me because I had deceived him into marrying me, which I never did, by the way. He had been the one that wanted to marry. The insults I had gotten that day still stays with me till now, but the cherry on top of the cake that made me beg him for divorce so I could run away from the city was when my friends started calling me and saying they were seeing me on poster ads that I had herpes, and people needed to stay away from me. Apparently that had been my husband's boss doing because my cheating with him got him fired, but my husband had put him up to it. I begged my husband for divorce like I had never wanted anything more, and when I signed the papers, I got on my flight to New York from money that I had borrowed from someone who owed me big time. Yeah, so that's my experience, and I'm learning to be a better person after the whole thing. But I never knew my ex-husband could be so revengeful. It still shocks me, and I'll definitely have the shivers anytime I recall my experience with him.